I rebuilt Notion in 7 days and saved $5,000 a year. We just canceled Notion. How did we come up with this decision? We were doing subscription spring cleaning at the company and I noticed $5,000 bill from Notion. As I'm actively exploring agentic coding topic, I set myself a challenge. 7 days to build an alternative to Notion for my team of 35 people. If it works, we cancel our Notion subscription and migrate everyone to the new tool. If it doesn't, we just keep paying and I admit defeat. Not only that, I decided to do it in public as CEO of a company by sharing my daily updates on LinkedIn. Progress, roadblocks, costs, all in the open. My team already knew the goal. There was no quiet way to fail. Long story short, it worked. 2/3 of the team switched on day one, and then Gergely Orosh, the Pragmatic engineer, pushed back publicly. Right, so let me show you how the 7 days went and how that exchange ended. Notion charges $12 per user per month. My company, Turing College, has 35 people, so that adds up to $5,040 a year. We use it for internal pages, task boards, some shared docs, maybe 20% of what Notion offers overall as a service. But in the end, we end up paying for the other 80%. Then I looked at our Confluence bill, $600 a month, another tool with overlapping features. Combined, that's more than $12,000 a year. Huge cost for some internal docs and task boards. There is a Charlie Munger quote I think about a lot. Watch your cost. The founders who survive long enough to grow are the ones who stop and question every line item. And I started wondering, in the age of AI coding agents, is it actually harder to build this Notion functionality myself than to keep paying for it? I will keep Confluence migration for another video. If you would like to see that, let us know in the comments below. So day one, I opened my terminal and launched Claude Code Opus 4.6 with 200,000 token context window and typed build Notion. Obviously, it was more nuanced than that, but surprisingly, not by much. So day one was clarifying what we actually need. I listed key use cases for us: Kanban boards, internal team pages, publicly hosted guides, brand assets, newsletter hosting, talent pool database, syllabus pages. Which open source tool covers all 9 out of the box? I looked at the most popular alternatives like DocMost and XWiki. DocMost covers maybe 3 or 4. XWiki has more features, but it's a Java monolith from 2004. The UX would kill adoption for a team used to Notion. And customizing someone else's codebase is arguably harder than building exactly what you need with AI agent in a few days. So none of them can be a direct replacement for our needs. So I started building. Chose the block node for editor, mainly since it's the closest to Notion's writing experience. Supabase for Postgres and storage, Google authentication, custom version, and Railway for hosting. By the end of day 2, things had come together faster than I expected. A working block-based editor with 22 block types, nested page tree, public page publishing, Google sign-in, self-hosted on Railway with full data ownership. Such fast progress happened because I wipe-coded several medium complexity projects before, so many things like Google sign-in, agentic setup, context management, skills I use were already in place. Cost so far, 0, just my existing subscriptions. And then I realized this doesn't just replace Notion, it replaces Confluence too. What started as a saving of $5,000 a year now has a path to $12,000 a year. Day 3 is where I hit my first real wall with AI coding agents. Since the backend was 80% done, I was so wrong about that, the plan for today was to start polishing the frontend. It didn't go to plan, and instead I spent 3 hours fighting Claude Code and Codex trying to restyle components built on Blocknode. Both agents got super rigid and pushed back whenever I asked to refactor existing UI. They could build from scratch, no problem. But reworking existing front-end code was no-go for some reason. The only path forward was feeding hyper-specific HTML and CSS prompts, which defeats the whole purpose of vibe coding in human language in the first place. So then I decided to try out Lovable. I assumed it wouldn't handle a project this complex, so instead I only used its help for figuring out the front end. and that went really smoothly. That's why it became the primary tool for finishing the UI. You need to remember that different agents are tuned for different tasks. In my case, Claude Code and Codex crushed the initial backend and architecture, but Lovable was much better at UI, knowing when to switch tools instead of brute forcing one. That turned out to be its own skill over this experiment. That day ended up being more productive than I expected. I shipped an AI assistant built into every page, initial Notion import with formatting preserved, public pages redesign, full UI overhaul, notifications, and version history. Not bad for day 3, huh? All that prompting and adjustment with Lovable cost me $100 in just a single day. Even though it was perfect for getting the UI where it needed to be, at that burn rate it was not sustainable. And I couldn't handle the backend things like Google Drive integration. So I switched back to Claude Code for the hard stuff, and the hardest thing ended up being the Notion import. On that day, for the first time, I got access to the Opus 4.6 with 1 million context window model, and I could feel the difference immediately. Smaller context models seem to be for getting specific requests shared 15 prompts ago, but with the 1 million model, it happened much less often. Getting back to the task of the day, the import. It is the feature that makes or breaks the whole project. If you can't migrate your real data, the tool only exists in theory. Nobody is going to manually recreate 600 pages by hand. I started off with building a zip importer that parses Notion's HTML exports into native blocks, headings, callouts, toggles, columns, tables, images, and basically everything Notion can offer in its pages. Internal links get remapped from Notion's ID to Docu page IDs. Images upload to Supabase storage. With that, over 300 images migrated automatically. And then it broke. Agent said feature was delivered, but it didn't work in reality. And it crashed multiple times since I needed to do a lot of manual testing myself because imports failed specifically on rebuilding the similar Notion-like doc structure on Docu. This is kind of problem that separates a demo tool from production software. The hardest 20% of this project took 80% of debugging time. The ratio is normal and sometimes gets even more extreme for real applications. By day 5, we already have a decent looking and even working prototype of the tool. But if it's already so far in the production, where did the rest of time go when building Docu? It wasn't the backend nor the architecture, it was the front end. From here point onwards, it was mainly QA. I would even blend day 5 and 6 together since they were both dedicated exclusively for that. I spent about 6 hours over the weekend catching and fixing bugs. For example, when you want Notion pages to paste exactly as they were, the devil was in details. A heading would be just slightly off. A callout box was missing padding, a list indentation went wrong, tiny things that added up to this is a bit broken feeling if you skip them. With this, frontend actually requires 5 to 10 times more time than backend. I spent 70% of my effort catching UX and UI bugs. You would think exact pixel perfect rules for UI would be easy for AI to replicate, but it ended up being one of the parts AI agents struggled the most. One thing that helped was remote access to my Claude Code instance through Happy Engineering. I was doing gardening one afternoon in the weekend, and during my breaks, I just chatted with Claude Code instance on what to check next. What a strange but somehow effective workflow. The goal of the experiment was to do this in a week. So day 7 was the last day of the experiment. I'm pleased to say that everything worked. 660 pages migrated from Notion, over 10,000 blocks of content, 300 images, multi-workspace support with role-based access control, row-level security across 25 database tables, daily cloud backups, full-text search, and integrated AI chatbot that can read your docs within your permissions. To put this in context, this is roughly the kind of project a senior full-stack engineer would spend 2 to 3 months on solo. It was done in 30 hours across 7 days, with AI doing most of the code generation and me just staring it. I named it Docu. 2/3 of the team switched on day 1, and I cancelled Notion. This single app reduced the total cost for the company by $5,040 a year, with a replacement that costs only $356. So in my eyes, the whole experiment was a success. And as I mentioned at the start, the whole journey was documented and shared on my socials. Surprisingly, the Day 7 post got traction, more than 400 reactions and many comments, and Gergely Orosh responded. Just for some context, in case you're not aware, in software engineering, Gergely runs the Pragmatic Engineer, one of the most respected newsletters in the industry. He quote tweeted my post. The response wasn't the high praise, it was the critique with two parts. One, this won't hold up, you will need permissions, backups, disaster recovery, mobile integrations. Two, opportunity cost. CEO spending 30 hours building custom solutions indicates that there aren't more impactful things to do. I have huge respect for Gergely. He produces great engineering content, but I think that take reveals something interesting. The gap between thinking like an engineer and thinking like a founder. An engineer sees a custom tool and thinks about the maintenance burden, which is seemingly what happened here with Gergely's post. In contrast, a founder sees $5,000 to $12,000 a year leaving the company for something replaceable and thinks about what that money compounds into over 5 years. So I respond, on maintenance, this isn't a SaaS serving millions. It's a tool intended to be used internally by about 50 people. As great as Notion is, we only use a handful of its features. The maintenance burden is real, but proportional. On the point, focus on your core business, I have run the company for years. Watching your costs is focusing on your business. And just being honest here for a moment, I really enjoy building it. It might not sound like it, but working late evenings was fun. Having deadline was motivating. When something saves money and doesn't feel like extra work, that's not really a distraction. Most importantly, I wanted to set an example for my team. Even the CEO can be super hands-on and build alternatives for tools like Notion in parallel with doing the daily job. Yes, I do have a technical background, and without it I would have struggled, but I still haven't professionally coded in years. My hope is that this inspires the team to spot inefficiencies in their own workflows and tools and try using AI to build smoother processes or innovate in their fields, helping the company in the long run. Gergely read my reply and came back with something I did not expect. He said, it's easy to talk the talk when you don't walk the walk. That you learn more by doing than not doing. That I know my company needs better than anyone watching from outside. He called it unconventional, said he's honestly curious how it plays out, and suggested that we catch up later to talk about the results. His closings, he would love to see this work out and him be wrong for the wrong reasons. And this comment got like 300 likes. We moved this chat to personal messages and we agreed to meet up in London. From you don't know how to improve your core business to let's grab a coffee in London in just a week, that kind of shift from dismissal to genuine curiosity says more than any argument I could make about whether this was an interesting project. So in the end, what are the key takeaways? AI coding agents are still not magic. They won't build your product while you sleep, but they are genuinely force multiplier with the right mindset and some determination. A project that would take a senior engineer 2 to 3 months, done in 30 hours by a tech-savvy manager for $300. The tools are good enough now that a founder can ship real internal tools, not only demos, all based on their own specific needs. Generally adapting the tool to the team rather than the other way around. For us, that was a production software with real data, real security policies, real users that most of the 35-person team migrated in a day. Will it scale to 5,000 employees? Of course not, but it doesn't need to. For a company between 35 and 100 people, it is more than enough, would probably even work for 200 and 300 people. What I keep thinking about is that second order effect. The cost of building custom software dropped by an order of magnitude. Most companies haven't updated their assumptions yet. Every SaaS subscription should probably be re-examined through the lens. Not can we build it, but is it worth 20 to 30 hours to never pay this bill again? For us, the answer was yes. $12,000 a year back in the business. The full day build logs are in the LinkedIn thread. I will link it below. If this piqued your curiosity and you would like to try building such products yourself, we have 2 crazy good programs about building with AI. One for total newbies in tech and AI, and one for software devs who want to upskill in AI engineering. Check the bio to learn more. Also, if you somehow couldn't tell, this was a super fun experiment for me. If you would like to see me take on more of these builds and experiment with different tools, subscribe. I will keep sharing how we are using AI to run Turing College and how you can implement this yourself to your own needs. I have recently also made another video where I tried vibe coding multiple apps with Claude Code. There I just don't do the overview like today, but I go into exact prompts and outputs we were able to generate in just a few hours. If you would like to see that, click here. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.